Just my final follow-up question would be in regards to, I have Pandora on my phone.
Yes.
And so I download it for free, and then I'll have the random ads interjected.
Yes.
So I could end up paying a premium. I think it's an extra $5 a month or something, so that I don't get the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So how do other revenue streams like that work in regards to media? Because I actually got one reminding me to vote, even though I am not actually registered in Virginia, but for some reason, because of the zip codes, Pandora
Mm-hmm.
identified me as a potential voter.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so someone paid for that, right? Someone paid Pandora
Mm-hmm.
to remind you to vote. Unless it was a Pandora ad, I doubt it. I think that somebody reminded, somebody made a calculated sort of bet that that viewers or listeners in that demographic would be potential voters in certain districts. And so they said, we want to make sure they get out. It could have been one of the parties, it could have been one of the candidates, probably one of the parties, I would imagine, given the fact that they've got all the data in terms of who you are, and not individually, but anonymized data.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have your personally identifiable information. Maybe they do, but they're not using that. But they've anonymized you and sort of aggregated you as a 20-something, highly educated young woman who lives in the Washington area. She probably is a Democrat, I mean, so maybe the Democratic Party, I'm just sort of speculating, maybe the Democratic Party paid for that ad to reach people like you. And that is how the advertising game works. Again, in this cycle, hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent in the advertising sector, from the advertising sector to go to political advertising. And so who else is making, the companies who aggregate the data, aggregate the content, the companies who develop it and put it out there, and then those that measure the effectiveness. So in the ecosystem, in the advertising ecosystem, you've got a number of different
I like that term.
players. It's not mine, but it is sort of descriptive, right? So you've got the producers, you've got the providers, you've got various agencies, you've got third-party players, and you've got a number of different, disparate kinds of organizations, entities in there that are playing a key role in this whole advertising thing, and they are each one is being monetized by essentially the company, the individual organization that's paying to get their message out. So let's assume that there's one company here that's paying $100 to get their message to as many people as possible. That $100 a portion of that will go directly to the broadcaster, for example, if we're looking at television. Some of it will go to the internet provider. A portion will go to the radio station, maybe the newspapers, and then the services that revolve around getting it from message to distribution will also be part of that pipeline, part of that chain. And so that's the ecosystem. The ecosystem is much more complex in the online world than it is in the offline world, because of the sheer volume of data that's there. And you've got companies that will take bits of information or bits of messages or ads, and they will sell it, put them together and sell them as a block in the wholesale. There are ad exchanges, so that which is kind of the pure market, where you've got advertising volume or inventory that is there, and looking for the best rates, the most effective time. And there are individual companies that are involved in that business that will say, okay, we've got all this advertising, all these messages that need to go online somewhere. What's going to be the best, most efficient place to place that, or where do we put it? And they determine, and companies can engage that process and say, well, we want to make sure that our message is seen in prime time, but not in off time, not in daytime, or what have you. you can certainly direct where it's going to go. And those are, again, those are all monetized by that one or two that one source that says, I want my message out. So if you're Hillary, you know, and you've got a pile of money to make sure your message gets out about full employment or immigration or defense, and you got, you know, 100 million here, 100 million there, 100 million there, and you put it out there, then you can bet that there along the chain within that ecosystem there will be companies, entities that are profiting from that. Not in a bad way, but just they're just for providing their service, they get compensated, and that compensation can sometimes be quite quite big, quite considerable, right?